The desert sun burned across the Nevada sky, casting a golden glow over the dusty military range. Rows of soldiers lined up, some joking, others adjusting their rifles, all preparing for a long day of sniper qualification. Among them sat an old man, quiet, focused, and out of place, his wrinkled hands methodically polishing the barrel of a Barrett .50 caliber rifle that gleamed like it was new. His name tag simply read, H. Walker. At first glance, nobody gave him much attention. The young trainees thought he was just a janitor, maybe an old maintenance worker who'd seen better days. He wore faded fatigues, the kind that hadn't been regulation for years, and his boots looked worn from miles of hard ground. But there was something in his eyes, a calm steadiness that seemed to look through the chaos of the world. The range master, Sergeant Donovan, barked orders across the field, his voice echoing over the wind. Targets are up, we're testing accuracy, wind correction, and range judgment. Let's see who's got what it takes. As the trainees took their positions, Walker kept cleaning the massive rifle, piece by piece, with movements so smooth it looked like he was handling a newborn child. The younger soldiers whispered, some snickering. Man, what's that old guy doing? One of them said, probably thinks he's back in Vietnam, another laughed. Donovan noticed him too. He frowned, walking over. Hey old timer, this is an active range. You can't just wander around with a weapon like that. Walker looked up, his face lined with time, his voice soft but steady. Just cleaning her up, she's seen better days, like me. The range master sighed. Sir, I don't know who authorized you to be here, but... Before he could finish, another officer approached, holding a clipboard. Actually, Sergeant, he interrupted, glancing at the paper, he's cleared. Civilian guest of Colonel Mason. Donovan blinked, taken aback. Colonel Mason, that was the commanding officer of the entire base. He looked back at the old man with new eyes. You knew the colonel. Walker nodded, returning to his rifle. A long time ago. The day went on, and soon the trainees began their long-range tests. Targets stood between 800 and 2,000 meters away. A few hit, most missed. The wind was strong, unpredictable, every shot required perfect calculation. When the last trainee finished, Donovan noticed Walker still sitting quietly near the bench. The Barrett rested in his lap, now spotless, almost reverent. The old man finally stood, walked toward the firing line, and spoke softly, mind if I take a shot? The range fell silent. Donovan blinked. Sir, this isn't a toy. That rifle's not easy to handle. Walker smiled faintly. Neither is life. There was a long pause. Donovan sighed, finally nodding. All right, one shot. Let's see what you've got. Walker positioned himself prone on the mat, every movement deliberate and smooth. He adjusted the bipod, set the scope, checked the wind, then adjusted again. His breathing slowed, deep and even. The entire range seemed to hold its breath. Donovan watched through binoculars as the old man whispered numbers to himself. Winds shifting 3 knots west, elevation drop 16 inches, humidity 72. It was the kind of mental math only a master sniper could do. Then, with a calm exhale, Walker pulled the trigger. The thunder of the Barrett .50 echoed across the desert like a small explosion. The recoil jolted the ground, dust flying into the air. Seconds passed. Nothing. Then the radio crackled. Impact confirmed. Target at 3,800 meters. Everyone froze. Even Donovan lowered his binoculars slowly, disbelief on his face. That's impossible, he muttered. That's beyond record range. Walker stood up, his expression unreadable. Not impossible, he said quietly. Just takes practice. The trainees rushed over, staring at him like they'd seen a ghost. One of them finally spoke, voice trembling. Sir, who are you? Walker hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Once upon a time, he said, I trained snipers. Taught them to see not just the target, but everything between here and there. Donovan's eyes narrowed. You were military. Walker nodded. Marine Corps. 1968 to 2001. Retired Master Gunnery Sergeant. Served in Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq. Lost good men on all sides. The young soldiers stared in silence. The man they had laughed at an hour ago had just made a near-impossible shot with a weapon that most of them struggled to control at half that range. Later that afternoon, Colonel Mason himself arrived, walking toward Walker with a rare, genuine smile. Didn't think you'd actually show up, Hank. Walker chuckled softly. Didn't think you'd still remember an old fossil like me. The colonel looked at the smoking Barrett on the table. Still showing the kids how it's done, huh? Walker shrugged. They've got good eyes, but their hearts are noisy. A sniper's greatest weapon isn't his rifle, it's his patience. That night, after the range closed, Donovan found Walker sitting alone, staring at the horizon as the sun dipped below the mountains. The sergeant approached quietly. That was something else today, sir. I've never seen a shot like that. Walker smiled faintly, never taking his eyes off the fading light. It's not about the shot. It's about remembering why you take it. Every bullet has a memory. Donovan sat beside him. You ever regret it? All the years, all the fights. Walker was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, I regret the ones I couldn't bring home. But I don't regret serving them. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't the ones you fight with a gun, they're the ones you fight after you put it down. The next morning, when the trainees arrived, the old veteran was gone. All that remained was a single bullet casing on the bench, carefully engraved with the words, for every shot taken, remember the cost. Donovan held it for a long time, feeling the weight of the metal, and the message. He placed it in a small glass case at the range with a simple plaque. In honor of Master Gunnery Sergeant Hank Walker, Marine Sniper, Teacher, Legend. From that day on, every young sniper who trained there learned the story of the old man who came, cleaned a rifle, and made a 3,800-meter shot that no one thought possible. But more than that, they learned that behind every legend was not glory, but discipline, loss, and a heart that refused to quit. And somewhere out there, far from the range, Hank Walker watched the sunrise with a quiet smile, knowing that he'd passed on the lesson that mattered most.